Welcome, Paradox Explorers, to another deep dive into the mysteries that shape our world, or perhaps the ones hidden from it. Today, Anastasia, we're journeying back in time to the twilight years of the Soviet Union, to a place called Chelyabinsk, and a story that sounds like pure science fiction, yet, according to whispers and alleged documents, it's startlingly real.
It's really a fascinating one, Peter. And what makes it so compelling is the setting. 1989. The Iron Curtain was crumbling, but behind the scenes, the USSR was reportedly dealing with something entirely out of this world. We're talking about a UFO crash, and even more astonishing, an extraterrestrial survivor.
An extraterrestrial survivor. I mean, that phrase alone sends shivers down your spine, doesn't it? So let's peel back the layers. What do these so-called secret USSR files, a crucial detail by the way, what do they claim happened near this forest inspection station in Chelyabinsk?
Right, so the story goes that in the autumn of 1989 there was an incident, an impact near a very remote forest inspection station in the Chelyabinsk region. This area, historically, has been significant for its industrial and frankly its secretive military installations, so not exactly a bustling tourist spot. Local forestry workers or perhaps even military patrols were the first to stumble upon what was clearly a wreckage. But this wasn't an airplane, Peter. It was something unlike anything they'd ever seen.
So they find this wreckage. Was it still hot? Was it glowing? What were the initial observations that made them realize this wasn't just, say, a downed experimental aircraft?
From the accounts, the material itself was anomalous, not consistent with known alloys or composites, and the impact site itself was unusual. A precise crater, almost too clean, suggesting a controlled descent or a very specific type of impact. But the real game changer came when they began to investigate the wreckage more closely. That's when they made the discovery.
The discovery? The grey-type creature. Tell us about that. What are the files said to describe about this entity?
It's the stuff of legends, truly. Amidst the debris, surprisingly, they found a living being. The description is remarkably consistent with what we've come to know as the grey alien archetype. Small stature, perhaps around 3 to 4 feet tall, a disproportionately large head, large dark eyes, slender limbs, and typically no visible hair or external ears. The skin was, of course, grey. It was injured, undoubtedly, from the crash, but it was alive, and that changed everything.
So, a living, breathing, injured alien from another world, found by the Soviets in 1989. This isn't just a story about a crashed object. It's about a direct, physical encounter. What happened next? You can't just call an ambulance for an alien, can you?
Absolutely not. The protocol as outlined in these alleged files was immediate and extreme secrecy. This discovery was deemed top-tier classified, above even the most sensitive military operations. A special team, likely from the KGB or a dedicated scientific military unit, was dispatched. The creature was carefully extracted from the site and, as the reports suggest, transferred to a highly secure, undisclosed facility for study.
A facility for study. I mean, the implications of that are just staggering. What do you even begin to study? Its biology? Its technology, its intentions, and who was doing the studying? Was it scientists, military doctors?
It would have been a multidisciplinary effort, Peter, no doubt. Soviet science was formidable, especially in biology and aerospace. Imagine bringing together their brightest minds, biologists, physicists, engineers, even linguists or cryptographers, all tasked with understanding this being and its craft. The files hint at efforts to communicate, to understand its physiology, its technology. Think about the ethical dilemmas alone. Here's a sentient being, clearly not from Earth, in their custody, presumably against its will.
And this is happening right as the Soviet Union is on the brink of collapse. The political landscape is a powder keg. How do you manage such an explosive secret amidst all that internal turmoil?
That's the ultimate paradox of this whole story, isn't it? The sheer audacity of trying to contain this information. Some theories suggest that the chaos of the late Soviet era might have actually helped keep it secret. Other, more cynical views suggest it was precisely because of the chaos that these files eventually found their way into the public domain, even if piecemeal and unverified. It's plausible that factions within the Soviet government or even scientists involved might have begun to leak information as the old system dissolved.
So, this creature, this grey alien, was it an intelligent being? Did the Soviets manage to learn anything concrete from it or from its craft? before the whole thing presumably went even deeper underground.
The files are ambiguous on the specifics of communication, which isn't surprising, a language barrier of cosmic proportions. But the consensus, if we're to believe the accounts, is that it was certainly intelligent. The focus of the study would have shifted from pure biology to understanding its operational capabilities, perhaps even its origin. And the technology of the craft itself, even in wreckage, would have been invaluable. Imagine reverse engineering something so far beyond our understanding. It would have leapfrogged them decades, centuries ahead in certain fields.
It's wild to think about. I mean, if this is true, it changes everything. Human history, our place in the universe, the very definition of life. And yet, here we are, decades later, still debating its authenticity, still operating as if it never happened publicly. What does that say about the nature of such a secret?
It says that some secrets are simply too monumental for public consumption, or perhaps that the implications are too destabilizing. Think about the Cold War context. If the Soviets had publicly announced this, it would have sent geopolitical shockwaves. The US would have been in a frenzy. The entire world order would have shifted overnight. It was probably deemed safer, strategically, to keep it under wraps, even after the USSR itself dissolved.
So, when the Soviet Union fell, what happened to the creature? What happened to the studies? Did it all just get absorbed into the newly formed Russian Federation's intelligence apparatus, buried under new layers of bureaucracy and secrecy?
That's the million-dollar question, Peter. The most common theory is precisely what you said. It was absorbed. The Russian government inherited a vast network of secret facilities and intelligence operations. It's highly probable that this particular project, whatever its status, simply continued under a different flag, perhaps with even tighter security. Or, less optimistically, the creature didn't survive long-term study, and its remains and any recovered technology became an even more guarded artifact.
I can only imagine the kind of psychological impact this would have had on the people involved. To be privy to such a profound discovery, to touch the edge of the unknown, and then be sworn to absolute, lifelong silence. That's a burden I can't even fathom.
Absolutely. It speaks to the incredible discipline and perhaps fear within the Soviet system. The consequences for leaking such information would have been severe, even in a dissolving state. But you're right, psychologically it would be immense. To know humanity isn't alone, to have seen proof, and to carry that knowledge in secret, it's a heavy cross to bear. It would change your entire worldview, forever.
It really highlights the paradox, doesn't it? The pursuit of knowledge, the expansion of our understanding of the cosmos, can lead to incredible discoveries, but also to unimaginable secrecy. And for the Into the Paradox listeners, I think this story really embodies that core theme. What do you think are the biggest takeaways from this Chelyabinsk anomaly, even if we view it through the lens of alleged files?
The biggest takeaway for me, Peter, is that the narrative of human history and our place in the universe is far more complex and perhaps far stranger than we officially acknowledge. Whether this specific account is 100% true or a fabrication built on some grain of truth, it represents a persistent thread in human curiosity, the idea that we are not alone and that governments might know more than they let on. It challenges us to question, to look beyond the headlines, and to consider what hidden realities might lie just beneath the surface of our perceived reality.
Beautifully put, Anastasia. And it certainly leaves us with more questions than answers, which is exactly where we like to be here on Into the Paradox. The thought that somewhere, in the annals of former Soviet secrecy, there are files detailing an encounter with a grey-type creature from another world. It's a chilling, exhilarating thought. Thank you for shedding light on this incredible, mysterious story.
My pleasure, Peter. There's always another layer to peel back.
Indeed there is. And to all our listeners, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep venturing into the paradox. We'll catch you next time with another deep dive into the unexplained. Until then, stay curious.